Greetings, my fellow skeptics and believers and everyone in between. Welcome back to another episode of Ghosts in the Machine. And in this episode, we are going to review the 2020 documentary, use that term loosely, called The House in Between. And when I say we, I mean not just me. I'm going to be joined by a guest, Mr. Beardo from Beardo Gets Scared. He is a content creator on YouTube. He is part of what's called the Debunking community, and he usually looks at ghost hunting videos and paranormal videos, and he goes through them and does reaction videos on his channel. Originally, he was set to do this with another content creator, and after so many attempts at trying to get this video done, it kind of fizzled out. So after a few weeks of me and Beardo talking and going over some of the points of the film, we decided that we could do this, and that's what we did. We finally got together over a video call, and we recorded 3 hours, like 3.5 hours, I think, of video. We did a real-time reaction kind of thing where we watched some of the video, and then we immediately gave our thoughts. So you're going to see parts of that throughout this video, and you're going to hear clips from the documentary where I had to put some static over top of it. I had to change the volume or the sound a little bit because, copyright things. We're trying to use fair use. We're doing a review. We're doing a critical review of this, but because the how the YouTube works with reviewing content and looking for copyright, we wouldn't just make sure that we don't get in trouble for reviewing this film. Anyway, so with that out of the way, we're going to jump right into it because it's a kind of a long video. We're not going to cover every point from the film, but we're going to cover the ones that make the most impact. So points that come out or experiences that they claim happen in the house that we can give you information and hopefully educate the viewer on various topics and give you a better understanding of what's going on. So that's it. I'm going to stop talking, get right to the video. All right, I'm going to stop it here because...
Are we going to mention this silly sound effect?
Yeah, we can. We can mention anything you want. So, first thing with that opening there, the door is not closed. It is not closed. You can see light coming through the door jamb. You can see more of the actual latch plate on the handle than you should, and it's just open. And that tells me that if you have any kind of window open, or if there's any kind of draft, or if it's just not, because it's not closed completely, there's going to be constant pressure from the latch itself. And eventually, it's going to pop open just like that.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, but we can only see one side of the door. And
right.
The discussion we had about it, to me, I thought it was a cinematic. I thought it was meant to look creepy like a horror film, and then it's not. It's an actual shot they use later on.
Right.
And if anything, it detracts from this being a real documentary. When you've got that, I mean, they've overexposed and they've color graded just that door opening. They've got that breathing sound effect over. If it was something paranormal, and they believe it's something, surely just the door opening on its own with 2 camera angles is enough. You don't need a over the top of it.
Yeah, the sound effects are, that's very horror film, Hollywood kind of thing. And I would also say, and I think this is going to be a theme throughout this documentary, is that they don't show the setup.
No.
I want to see them actually walk over to the door, close it with force, and make sure, go back and forth, that it doesnn't open up. And we don't do that.
At 11:30, and I was probably in bed about 12 o'clock, and it was pitch black dark in here. And a light came on, and I opened my eyes, and there was this. It was light. It was a patch of total daylight from the ceiling to the floor, and it was daylight in this tube of light, and it was pitch black in the rest of the room. After about 10 seconds, it just went blink, it went out.
The pillars of light.
Yes.
You'll be aware of this. Hypnagogic hallucinations.
Yes.
Take place as you're falling asleep. Visual in nature, can be audible in nature. A lot of people see images, shapes, and tubes of light. So she's already in bed. She's obviously getting ready to settle down for the night. Is she just in that phase of awake, half awake, half asleep? I've looked up some facts, and it is common for 70% of people to experience these light patterns, light tubes, etc., at least once in their life. And 86% of hypnagogic hallucinations are visual. It's also possible to see animals and faces, and 20 to 40% of people claim that they sense the presence of another person in the room.
Right. I mean, this goes into like a deeper or a more pronounced version of that would be sleep paralysis. But yeah, you're basically dreaming in this. And she did mention that she's in bed. She was down for the night. It was late.
Pitch black.
Pitch black. So it's easy. It's very plausible that she was dozing off and she hallucinated this column of light. We don't know for sure, obviously, because we weren't there. But I agree. I mean, that's the most likely cause of that experience.
Go
ahead.
The whole basis of this documentary is this woman is too scared to sleep in her house, and they are trying to get her to sleep in her house, not be afraid. And this is never, ever brought up to her in the documentary. Maybe it was behind the scenes and it didn't make the cut. I don't know. But surely if somebody's that scared and you're looking to help her, it could, it's quite possibly this. Right. This natural biological event that so many people have. And
it's a shame because you're right. You bring up a good point. Like, this is a documentary. Obviously, we'll learn in a little bit. We learn later on in this film that there have been ghost hunters there already for quite some time.
Yeah.
And this is never brought up. It's like she's primed because she already thinks weird things have been going on since construction. And then two, you have ghost hunters, two different, two main ghost hunters, one with a team and one by himself. But these two come in and they don't explore any other ideas, any of this that you just mentioned. They go right to it's haunted.
Yeah, and it's feeding into her paranoia.
You're right.
I was referred to the Mississippi house by a friend of a friend. Alice told us about the lights that she experienced in the bottom bedroom and some other sounds that she had heard in the house. And just from the pre-investigation that we did, it really started to intrigue me. Things that have moved, lights that have turned off.
You know exactly what I'm going to say.
Go ahead. So I'll have a picture up here of that first scene with the broom. And they're saying that it moved on its own. So go ahead.
So they show footage of a broom moving of its own accord. Unfortunately, we can't even see half of it.
Right.
We literally see the top just over a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So
the way it moves, it kind of goes one way and then stops and does a little dance. Let's look at that again. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't fall over completely, like onto the floor. It hit something else, and where it is, and looking at other footage from that room, I don't know what it would hit unless somebody's laying on the floor.
But that is not proof of that brush moving on its own when we can't see 3/4 of it.
And this is something that I hate to say, but annoys me about amateur teams like this. They go in, they only have one camera because I'm going to go on the assumption here that they only had one camera because they have this big great room. That's what we have here, a great room, where it's the dining room, the living room, and the stairwell, all in one big room. But they have one camera covering it, which doesn't cover all of it. And you should have one or two other cameras. I mean, hell, at the top of the stairs looking down would be a great view.
Yeah.
But we don't get any of that. So, yeah, it could be either a broom that kind of starts to move on its own, which sometimes it does if it's not placed right and kind of settled somewhere else, or somebody could be laying on the floor, not in view of the camera, and go, oh, and move it, but realized it was going to fall on them, so they stopped it.
Yeah.
In fact, the first day I came here, we had some activity happen in the house, which really piqued my interest at that point. It actually, they said it was heading towards the stairs, and then when we went out the door,
right there.
The next
orb we were looking at then.
That was an orb that he pointed out, and this set up. So the first guy that they bring in, John, the younger kid, you know, like he's a marketing guy for restaurants. Which is cool. I'm not knocking that, but no experience actually investigating. He looks to be, and the more we see him in this film, he just looks to be the typical ghost hunter.
He's a ghost hunting hobbyist.
Yes,
This
guy, Brad, like he tells us when he's first being interviewed, he just got into it because he saw the house featured on a news segment.
And it's close by.
Yeah.
I got into the paranormal. I watched TV one day, and a segment that a local news broadcaster did on Miss Alice's house caught my attention. I stopped what I was doing. I started watching it and realized it was really close. So I reached out to that homeowner because it was really interesting to me, especially how close it was. I said, wow, usually you hear something haunted or whatever it might be. It's a long drive, but this was so close to where I live. So I would be interested. It'd be really interesting for me to see if they'll have me in there and take a look around.
That was his qualifications and/or credentials for checking it out. And he comes in, he sets up. It looks like he has a 4-camera DVR here, and he sees an orb, a dust particle float past the camera, and he's like, ooh. This is all telling me this person, I'm sure he's a nice guy in real life, but this is not a person that's qualified to do this. And to
not in somebody's home.
No.
To hire a location out and to go into a hired location where everybody's going there for the same thing, you scare yourself silly with that. But to go into somebody's home that's already scared, it's something I battle against all the time. I would never do it. All the years experience I've got doing investigations, going to haunted locations that I pay for, I would never, ever go into anyone's home. Just, there's too many things that can go wrong with it.
Right.
And then to claim that a dust particle or an insect, it just shows the level of, I'm sorry, incompetence there. Because it's not his fault. He's just looked at a TV show or a news article on the TV and said, oh, I'd love to go there. He doesn't know any different. Maybe he's only ever seen ghost hunting shows, but it's also worth taking into account that he was a journalist.
Yeah, I might push back here a little bit and say that I think it is partially his fault because he does have the background in covering, at least doing journalism, and you need to make sure you get your facts. And he should understand the responsibility of going to this person. He never mentioned anything about training or experience in video production, photography, or analysis or anything like that. Yet here he is. He just pointed out a dust particle or a bug, and he doesn't clearly say that it's paranormal, but he's giving that impression.
Yeah, he's very excitable for. I mean, something that I don't think anybody claims these things anymore. Not in decades.
Oh, I still get it. I still get this shit.
There's gotta be somebody.
So we just saw a clip where it was cell phone footage, and it was Brad and his friend who's an off-duty police officer, and they hear noises upstairs, and the off-duty police officer pulls out his gun and cocks it, which honestly to me was all for show. I think it was,
Absolutely.
yeah. So they get up there, they go up the stairs, they turn the light on, there's nothing there. From personal experience, it sounded like animals running on the roof, because that is the top of the triangle roof. And I have squirrels that run along my office roof all the time, and it sounds just like that.
She went around to all these businesses within the area and said like that to get them other
I'm sure I could hear a dog barking as well. So I'm wondering, I mean, is it that the dog has barked and then squirrels have gone up?
Right.
But that doesn't sound like human footsteps.
It sounds like something landed on the roof and then started to run away. Because you hear that initial loud thump and then boom, 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 like smaller thumps. So, yeah, I think that's just natural, especially where the house is. I mean, it's surrounded by trees, and you're going to have critters. Yeah. Yeah,
it's quite a big area, a lot of trees. Yeah.
We've seen lights shut off, so we would start asking, can you shut that light off again? And we've actually gotten direct responses to where the light would shut off. The chandelier just shut off by itself. We believe it's possible that spirits that hear us are communicating with us.
We just watched the ghost hunting group talk about the chandelier that's in the dining room, and it shuts off by itself. They had an electrician come out. He checked the breaker, then he checked the dimmer switch, and that was it.
Considering he is some sort of outside agent as an electrician, I've done more with electrics than what he did there, looking for a fault.
Right.
Yes, he checked the breaker. Yes, he put the voltage detector in there. And then he said, yeah, this is a dimmer. Nothing's wrong.
Right.
Nothing in between the fuse box or junction box, you guys call them, is it? Or
junction box, fuse box, yeah, either one.
It's just the switch. He didn't even look at the light fitting.
Right. That is my big complaint with this, because I've done electrical work. I was in automotive. I was in aerospace. I've done electrical work, and I know that you could have a break. You could have a wire chafed inside, especially if it's not done properly. If it got pinched and a wire is broken, then the longer it's on, the more heat is going to generate from that wire, and it's going to expand, which we can go back to the flashlight trick that ghost hunters love. It will expand and lose contact, and that'll shut the thing off. I agree with you that there was no testing the wires. He could have tested for continuity between the chandelier itself and the switch to see if something was off there, or if it was too high, or something for the ghost hunters to do is to time it, like turn it on, time it, see how long before it shuts off, or hell, just see if it happens just by turning it on. Turn it on and just sit there and wait. Don't ask for any ghosts or anything like that to do anything. Just wait.
Yeah, and obviously something else that I didn't consider until this second. We've heard that there's critters on the roof, whether it be squirrels or whatever. Something started to chew into a cable somewhere. Right. Exposed something, but he didn't check any of that. It was literally fuse board. This is a dimmer. And I mean, was he paid for that?
I mean, I really don't want to make fun of anyone, but the presentation from the electrician was silly. It was incomplete, and to make a conclusion based on, I checked the voltage at the box, which is okay, but then you talk about the dimmer switch and say
sometimes the dimmers will go bad and make it, go dimmer.
Like, that's what he said, and it was just like,
Yeah.
What am I watching?
I have problems with the electrics in this house. I have never had an electrician come out and say to me, I don't know what that is. It must be something else. These people work with electric. They will find a fault if there is a fault, not just allude to it being something otherworldly without. I mean, come on,
Right.
check it
And
properly.
to be clear, that's what he said in this film. He says,
I think the electrical's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I think you're looking at something else.
you're right. You bring up a good point. He should have been paid for this.
Yeah.
You know, I unless he's doing it for free and, you know, in exchange for publicity. But still, if you're doing it, do a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you've mentioned heating and things expanding in heat. Surely his first port of call should be this is a potential fire hazard.
Right.
A wood frame house, and there's a problem with power either surging or being coiled somewhere. Something that's going to generate heat in a wood frame house.
You don't want
And
that.
it's something else.
Right.
Not good enough.
Yeah.
The ball moving has intrigued me the most. That's something that I'm really hungry to find out. Why? Why is that ball moving? Is there something behind it? Why? I have no idea why this happened.
We just watched a scene where the ghost hunters began putting baseballs on the steps, and apparently they've been doing this for a while. It was their idea. This was not a claim from the homeowner prior to this. They just decided to do this. And once in a while, a ball falls down, rolls down the stairs, you know, without them touching it or anything like that. And then they brought in a gentleman. It looks like some kind of home inspector where he used the device to see if the floor was level.
Floor was level.
Side to side, it's level.
Go ahead. If you want to go first.
The biggest one is that the floor was never the problem. The
Right.
stairs are. So he didn't, not even a spirit level on the stairs. He's no ghost hunter. He's an expert that's been brought in to see, you know, are things level. So downstairs he's got his device, and then he stands upstairs and yeah, it looks fine. There's a bit of a slope on this top step,
Right.
but ignores everything in between, and it's not. That is not any
Right.
sort of investigation into things coming down those stairs.
I mean, he says it himself. He makes that comment that you just mentioned. Like he goes up to the top of the stairs, looks around, he's like,
There might be a little slope up here, but I couldn't see why it would roll down there.
because you just said it. There's a slope. How long has this house been in existence? And how many times have people going up and down the stairs? Have they sloped even more from the beginning? Have they settled where now there's a tilt? And the idea of the baseballs, I don't like this. I have a problem with this kind of test because I don't see it as a test. I see it as a setup for failure because you're putting a ball, something that's made to roll on the stairs, and they're putting it at the edge. We can see in several clips that I'll insert here. The one that always falls is the one that's closest to the edge.
Yeah, and there's dolls and other items all over those stairs. Not one of them comes down. The ball hits other things and they still don't come down. It's just that ball.
Right. I guess it goes back to the point where you don't put something that's made to either roll or fall over. I mean, even the dolls, they're not always perfect. They don't sit perfect. You have to really.
The legs of the dolls are hanging over the steps.
Right. That's not good. You know what I mean? Any vibrations from the people walking around the floor, if people are walking up and down the stairs. And we saw him, like the inspector, he walked up the stairs.
He walks up there and then stamps his feet twice.
Right. The ball's coming down. All the video that we have is from a distance. So they're showing it from across the room. I think they have one shot where it's in front of the stairs looking up. Well, first of all, we never see them set it up. No. We never see them place the ball. And I have a feeling, I mean, there's a reason for that, because we would see them struggle with it, because you can't just put the ball down in a good spot on the edge and let go and you're good. It's kind of like you're taking this ball, you put it on the edge and it wants to roll. So you're constantly going like this. Oh, okay.
You've got to find that sweet spot.
Yeah. And then it's like, all right, good. It's staying. And right there, that should be the big red flag that this is a bad experiment. The second thing I want to point out is that why not have a camera right next to it? You know, if this ball is on the stairs and you're looking, you're the camera and you're looking up at it, or even from the side, I should have a camera right here.
Yeah, at this point, they've got multiple cameras, they've got CCTV,
Yes.
and there should be a camera next to the ball, there should be a camera at the top of the stairs, and a camera at the bottom of the stairs. Even if they don't want to convince anyone else, to convince themselves to capture 3 different angles, top, bottom, side on.
Hey there. So this is future beardless Kenny coming to you a few weeks later after this video was filmed, and I want to explain a little bit about the micro movements. So when the baseball is up on the stairs, if you put it in just the right position, and you saw already a clip of me trying to put a baseball on the edge, and during that setup, it's very difficult to get it in place. And during the documentary that we're reviewing, The House in Between, you can see on the steps in the various clips that I show you and the still frames that some of the balls are back off the edge of the step, and they never move. It's only the ones that are right on the edge. So that's why I recreated that, just trying to show you how difficult it was just to set up that ball on the step. But what I'm going to show you is a couple clips here. Now there's 2 clips, and I did this a bunch of times, and it took various lengths of time in order to get the ball to fall. So basically what I did was set up the video camera on the side view, which is what I recommended in this video already, and basically let it go. That's all I did. I set the ball up and I walked away. And sometimes it took maybe 30 seconds. Sometimes it took 2 minutes. Sometimes it took up to 20 minutes for it to fall. And in one case, I left it all night and it didn't do it until about 12 hours later, it finally fell. So what is the cause here? The cause is vibrations. It's subtle vibrations from traffic, foot traffic, and car traffic. So anybody walking around the house, you're going to cause these little vibrations as each footfall hits the floor. If you go up the steps, same thing. Any traffic outside, any slamming of doors, closing of doors, opening windows, just walking around the house, minding your own business is going to cause these little vibrations. That's going to cause micro movements on that ball, which is, I mean, it's a ball. It's made to roll. So it's going to slowly roll down the stairs because the stairs are on a slope. And this is just natural. This is basic physics. So there is no magic. There is no paranormal claim here. It is simple science. Oh, and one last thing. Feel free to jump back and forth in the video between these 2 clips, from the beginning to the end, right before the ball drops. You'll see the movement. You'll see the little fine micro movements. It's really cool. It's just fascinating. Go ahead and take a look. I mean, I would suggest not only having a camera next to it, like on the stair, on the same step, looking straight across at whatever object, but don't put it on the edge. Don't put the object on the edge. Put it all the way against the back, or I guess it would be the front of the next step. So that it's off the edge, and don't make it round. Give it a flat bottom. So
yeah, and again we go back to there are other objects sat in those stairs that do not come down.
Right.
It is only the ball.
And to be fair, later on in the film, a few of them do try to. They get like on the underside of the stairs. There's another one going down the basement, and they bang. Yeah, we're both like, yeah. They bang on that ceiling of the bottom stairs to see if they can get it to move. And then later on they talk to a physicist, actually 2, I think, and they talk to them about what could make this happen, and they give some ideas. And I think the film producer kind of takes it and runs with it and takes it to the extreme, where it wasn't what the scientists meant. It was just, they were like, oh, let's see if wind does it. And he has a can of compressed air, which is not going to happen. And we've talked about this.
Because we uncovered a whole mountain of stuff, you know. I think there's times that we could push ourselves, but this house sometimes is so intense, I have to back away. And when you're in this house by yourself, when it's dark, lights are off, doors locked, it's a different ballgame.
So we just watched a section of it where the two ghost hunters are sitting down with the homeowner, and they're talking about the house and how she moved out after the lights. I guess I'm not sure if she's talking about the column light or the chandelier lights, but she's out and she won't come back. She won't sleep there. So she owns this house and she's not staying there. The problem I have is that the two ghost hunters for this documentary are openly talking about all the stuff, the mountain of evidence that they've collected in front of her, and angers me because we've seen what they've done already. When you watch this film, you see what they're doing, their practices. They are very poor investigators, and what they're presenting the owner is a lot of bullshit and reinforcing the fear that she has.
That's not helping this woman that has called you in for help. Predominantly, you are there to help her. The idea is to get her safe or feeling safe in her house.
Right.
And you're borderline telling her a horror story sat around a campfire. For what? A flickering light, a squirrel on the roof, and a ball rolling down the stairs.
Right. And so far, we have not seen them actually investigate anything.
No, it's just
sitting down. They're doing a typical ghost hunting thing. They got claims. They got specific claims. They made up a claim of their own with the baseballs. That wasn't part of it. But
no,
they didn't look into the lights or the column of light that she claims. When they go back and see the chandelier go off by itself, they haven't done anything to really find. I mean, the electrician came in because of this film, not because the ghost hunters called them in independently. So they just waited around till it happened and then celebrated it as something paranormal. Doors opening and closing by themselves. They didn't investigate to see what would happen, that if they could make that or recreate that. They let it go. What else? Any of the equipment going off, anything. We haven't seen them actually investigate any claims.
Yeah, and I don't know if that is just for this documentary to hold an audience, but she should not be sat there listening to that when the idea is to help that homeowner. Look at the person, not the property.
Right.
The person is the important thing here, which is why I will never do a residential property. I will direct them to people who will not go in and say ghost. For example, I've got a heavy feeling on my chest. I'm having shortness of breath. Right. Don't call a ghost hunter. Call a plumber. Get your boiler checked, because that sounds like carbon monoxide. But I'm seeing shadow figures. You will do if it's carbon monoxide poisoning. At least get that checked so you know that you and your family are safe to sleep at night, because it's a silent killer. If there is no carbon monoxide, then we start to look at other logical explanations. But the most dangerous one, carbon monoxide, let's deal with that first. The electricity is the dangerous one there. There is a fault, or potentially a fault with a light. Get to that first and then look at other stuff.
Yep. Get it rewired. Just rewire the thing and see if it happens again. And I can almost guarantee that that claim will go away.
I was invited by Alice to come and investigate her house. You know, I could just tell how sincere she was and how much this house scared her. The fact that she's opened it up to other people trying to figure out what is happening here. They showed me a lot of things that I couldn't explain. John and Brad realize that they've sort of done about all that they can. Now it's time to step in and bring it to the next level.
So we just watched a segment. The homeowner has called Steve Gonzalez, which is the guy making this film. Two quotes come out of this. One, that he says that he wants to start checking things off a list. Like, it could be other explanations, and he wants to start checking some of them off. And then the clip that really gets me is that he says that the two ghost hunters that are there have done pretty much all they could do, and it's time to take it to the next level. I find that so conceited. I've met Steve once or twice in real life. He seems very pleasant. and I've never really had a full conversation with him, just brief interaction. But I don't find him to be a quality investigator. I see him to be a TV ghost hunter, and I've seen when he was on TV, some of the episodes, he's made some big mistakes, like with just procedures and methods, and to be so arrogant to say it's time to take it to the next level, meaning him coming in, I just find that comical.
Yeah, it reeks of TV personality as opposed to paranormal investigator.
Get somebody
TV personality,
right? Not a cast member from a TV show. Get someone that's actually going to do an investigation into it.
Yeah, for me, I wouldn't have been satisfied with the electrician, with the guy that measured the floor but not the stairs. Him coming in, and I'm assuming he's seen what they've got as evidence and what has already taken place, and should say, well, give me a spirit level. Get me somebody that can. Give me a carpenter. Give me a carpenter to look at these stairs.
What we're saying is that these large deposits of energy, these things can be drawing from that. There's that much more here. That theory holds true that whatever's happening in any haunted place needs energy to do its doing. That's like, falling right in.
That was complete word salad.
Yeah.
So Steve is talking about, I guess, he's building on this idea of limestone in the area and talking about energy and making absolutely no sense.
I don't know enough about grounds and limestone. I don't. You know, my beliefs are a little different to yours, but I'm looking for the truth. I've heard theories, stone tape theories, which was based off a movie. Limestone. No, none of that makes any sense to me. But I don't know enough about it to form like a proper argument.
When they cut to him talking about energy and using the term energy, I don't think he knows what he's talking about, because it's complete word salad. There's nonsense there.
It's like the Albert Einstein quote that everybody uses in regards to ghost hunting, and I used to use it. I used to have it in my videos until a conversation with you, when you explained exactly what Albert Einstein meant and how it's been kind of warped to make it sound like it makes sense in regards to energy is not.
Energy is neither created or destroyed. It just changes form. And that's, it does change form. And there's scientific principles in place here to talk about, like, especially when the body dies, because that's usually when it's used most often to explain, like, oh, well, where does the energy go? Well, it goes into a lot of things, into the ground, back into the environment. It disperses into the environment, becomes food for other living organisms that grow out of our body and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't just float away in a ball of ether and become a ghost. That's not the way it works. When I hear clips like that, it hurts my brain.
Yeah, but those clips are not meant for people like you. Those clips are meant for people with a passing interest in the paranormal, because I've got more than a passing interest in the paranormal, but I have no clue what the hell he was talking about.
There is a theory out there that limestone can perhaps retain energy and release it. Would that be something that's possible in your opinion?
I think it's very possible. Limestone and other minerals, they can absorb energy. The simplest way for a lime or rock to absorb energy is the heat. So they can be heated, so then they have this energy, thermal energy, and then they can deliver this energy. So energy can be transferred through them.
All right, so they do bring in a physicist. Steve asked him, the guy making the film, asks him about energy. Could limestone just attract and hold energy and then release it later? And it's interesting because I'm watching this and thinking, Steve's thinking paranormal energy, like spirit and ghost energy. Yeah.
But he doesn't say that.
He doesn't say that. The good physicist says, well, yeah, materials can store energy sometimes, like the best thing is heat. Like you can heat it up and it'll store that heat and release it over time, which, yeah, that's what's going to happen. We're not talking about any ghosts or paranormal activity or anything like that. And then he follows up with a question, Steve does, with underground water creating a static charge. And the guy's like, no.
There's, as soon as he says water,
Water or moving water.
there's a frown and a what?
So yeah, it's interesting that in films like this, when they bring in someone with an academic degree or background like this, it feels to me like, oh look, we're bringing in someone with the credentials, and we have it in our film, but he kind of, as far as I know, he refutes what they're going for.
Yeah, he only explains. Well, he explains the only energy that limestone can hold on to and then release, which is heat. He completely dismisses water and then explains static charge. You need lightning. Lightning could cause
something like that,
static charges, something like that. But it's the way it's put to him that I didn't pick up on the first time around. It was this time around. Could it hold on to energy? Yes. But he never said, I'm a paranormal investigator. Are we looking at paranormal claims?
Right.
So the question isn't right for the audience.
Right. Because the context may not be there. We don't know what was said before and after this. And as they're cutting between cameras, we don't know if there were parts that were edited out, or if any of this was edited out of time. So if they swapped around stuff. So, because I've seen that happen. I'm not saying that this is what they did, but it's possible.
Over the years, I've experienced one thing with lights. I was upstairs in the bedroom at the Mississippi house with the door closed. We were doing an EVP session. It was me and one fellow investigator. And the bottom frame of the door turned bright white. And it was almost like a camera shutter, 2 to 3 flashes of white. I sat there kind of in awe for a few minutes. It was not raining. There was no thunder. The night was clear. I opened the door and it never happened again. We luckily did capture that on film.
They're talking about light seen in the house, and the first experience was by the younger ghost hunter that claimed to be in the bedroom, and underneath the door frame, he saw like a bright light coming through, and then there were flashes, which he caught on video, and he shows the video. It's a poor video, to be honest, and it's not the original video. I want to stress that. What they're showing is the camera looking at the monitor playing the video. So the quality is worse.
It looked like lightning.
Yeah.
I know he's saying it's not lightning, that looked like lightning. And there was I don't know, but I'm sure I heard a little rumble at one point, and it's like, but that's not the claim, though. The claim is a pillar of light. That is a flash of light under a door.
And even the wider flash, because their camera, what they claim is on camera, the camera is positioned at the bottom of the stairs, looking into the living room and dining room area. And then we see flashes, which looks, it could be two things. It could be lightning outside, because keep in mind that there's some big windows right there.
Yeah, it's a glass front house.
Yeah, it's huge windows. So if there's any kind of light feature or light show kind of thing in the sky, it could be miles away. But if it lights up the sky at all, you're going to have this subtle hint of a flash here.
Or a car headlight.
Could be a car headlight. I'm thinking that it was done by a camera flash. Because if you do like a red eye function and it does multiple flashes on a flash, it will create this, especially if you're outside. because just how many flashes there were in the row in a row here, I don't know. I'm torn between lightning and a camera flash because it does create shadows from the furniture. So it's not like it's a, I don't know how to describe it, all-encompassing light that just appears in the room. No, it's coming from a certain direction.
Directional.
Yeah. And I really think it's coming from the big windows that are right out in front. And that leads to the street.
When we look at the house on the outside, it's got the A-frame, all those big windows. When they're inside the house, from the angle looking in there, that's brick wall. I think there's a window quite high up. And then you got the back wall where there's no window. And then the stairs, you can't see a window. I don't think the doors have got windows in them either.
That's the door they came in. The stairs are right there going up. So you have, these, I mean, this all these are all windows.
Yeah. And they are big windows.
Yeah, big windows coming in. So if somebody stands outside, if you have lightning anywhere, boom, that's gonna light up that living room. If you have somebody standing outside and triggers a flash, that's gonna do the same thing.
Something else to consider. This has been on the news.
Yes.
Has somebody gone there to take a photo of the house because it's been on the news as a haunted house? And that's that house. Click, click.
Right.
Let us know that you're here. Let us feel your energy.
Somebody just saw a light dim.
There's a REM pod. What's going on?
Chandelier light dim right before that. Just by a few seconds.
Don't worry about Andy.
Oh, we got a REM pod over here. All right, y'all go ahead. I'll stay in here and watch this one.
Steady.
So now we're at the ghost hunt part of the film where the two ghost hunters, minus Steve, I don't know why he didn't tag along here.
No.
But he's the two ghost hunters there. They have their own group and they're in the house. It's dark and they're using their ghost hunting gadgets. There's a noise that goes off. It sounds like it could be a what's called a REM pod. It's little chirps, which I've heard before. And then there's another long tone, which is definitely from a REM pod, and they show it. I mean, that long tone, I know what causes that tone. And it's a two-way radio that causes that when it gets radio interference.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they are using a two-way radio to set it off. It could be emergency services, taxis, anything with a radio that's passing can set them off. Something I showed Kev Kerr when we were at Warmley Clock Tower, car keys. Car keys, I was 2 stories up. I said, well, watch Kev run. And I started clicking my car keys. And Kev shouts up, that's you, isn't it? I said, yeah. He said, I had no idea car keys could do that.
So is it just the keys making noise or the key fob?
My key fob. So I click in to unlock and lock my car from 2 floors up, and it was setting the REM pod off downstairs.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. I've never tried that. That's cool. That's cool. I
discovered that on accident because I was in a abandoned building with a couple of mates. I was like, I don't know if I've locked my car, and I've left one of my cameras there. Oh.
We use some devices, and they measure energy. And we had one set up in the living room, one in the back bedroom, one on the stairs. We wanted to separate them as much as possible.
Real quick, I want to talk that we're watching a part of the clip, and the younger ghost hunter is explaining a REM pod, and he explains that they measure energy, and that's not exactly what they do. Not exactly what they do. They don't actually measure anything.
There's no readout.
No, there's no readout.
Noises.
It acts as a capacitor, so you need a grounding plate to be the one side of the capacitor, and that's you. So when you ground it, when you get closer to the antenna, it builds up a charge, and the more buildup, the higher the tone, and that's what generates this noise. So by them saying that, that tells me right away they don't know what it is. They don't know how it works. They don't know how to interpret the data coming out of it. There is no data. It's just a tone and lights, and they're just not familiar with it, so they should not be using it.
And the other thing that struck me as odd is this is a documentary. This is, you know, the REM pods do this, yet they didn't explain the different tones, the different lights, because there's different light patterns for temperature fluctuations, different chirping sounds. They didn't break down the equipment in regards to what they're using it and how they're using it. It's like we've got these, they flash and beep. There's one there, there's one there, there's one there, and there's one there.
Right. All right. So there was a point during their investigation. I think all 3 REM pods went off.
Yeah.
And it was kind of stated that couldn't happen, or they'd be impressed if that would happen because they'd never had that before. I've had that happen. And again, if you're standing equal distance from different devices and key up a walkie-talkie or two-way radio, all 3 will go off.
Yeah.
Within, like, as long as they're within like 25, 30 feet from you. Yeah. And you just have to be in one room. And now we're getting into a part where they're bringing a psychic in. And I mean, personally, I don't think psychics can psychic, but they make statements. Steve makes statements about this psychic coming in, and that she made it a point that she doesn't know anything, and that they wanted to bring somebody in that wouldn't know anything about the house or what's going on with it. My problem is this is a production, and this person that they bring in, who we'll see, well, I'll show a picture of it. She doesn't live in the area. She had to fly
from
there.
California.
Yeah. So she flew in. So she has an idea of where she's going. And as soon as you know the airport, it's pretty simple to look up on your phone, like haunted locations in the area, and see what's coming up. So, and again, you mentioned this has already been in, these ghost hunters have been at this place for at least 9 years.
9 years.
Yeah.
Been on the news, and it is a very, very distinctive looking house.
Right. Right. So I don't buy for a second that she had no idea what was going on or where she was or anything like that.
No,
I just don't buy it.
Just a little bit of research on the area that you go into because you've booked a flight and potentially taxis. I mean, they don't show if they pick it up from the airport and blindfold her or
right.
And even then, but they do show her getting out of a vehicle and looking at the house, which is very distinctive looking. And I do not. I have never ever been impressed by a psychic medium. I do not believe in psychic mediums. And I mean, I've bought a book on your say-so to learn how to cold read and things. And yeah, I'm not a fan of this section at all.
No.
About a week ago, I started having some very unusual dreams that turned into what I call a series. I document them. I have a dream diary. I also sometimes sketch. What is so unusual is as soon as I saw that door went outside, I knew this was the door. Mm-hmm. This is the sketch that I did. The walking stick leaning up against the door.
She made sketches, and she's showing on screen now, and I'll put a screenshot up of this, a sketch that she made of a door, and it has a cane against it and the number 8, and small, thin wood flooring, old-time lock. So she points to a side door and says, as soon as I saw that door, I knew this was it. They don't look alike.
Nothing alike.
From the doorknob, the lock, the panels on the door, the flooring, everything is different. So it is not the same door. That's complete crap.
I audibly would.
Yeah, you laughed. Like, no, this is not the same. So the psychic is off to a very bad start here, because she's trying to retrofit or shoehorn a drawing that she made with a feature of this house, which is, it's just not the case.
No, every house has a door. She'll have drawn a door right, well done, but it doesn't look anything like that door there at all.
All right. So we watched the psychic sit down and is talking to the homeowner, and she says she makes mention that there's somebody was killed in the backyard, and that a previous owner was a very evil person. She also talks about burning and fire alarm and stuff, and an interesting thing does happen. The fire alarm beeps at that time.
Like I keep seeing things on fire. It's constantly setting fire, constantly setting fire.
We had a number of people who heard that.
That's weird.
However, it does sound like the low battery beep of it. So I don't know if it was good timing or if they filmed this and maybe because there are jump cuts. There's cutting in the editing. So who knows if they exchanged the batteries? It's something to consider. I'm not saying that's what they did, but it's something we do have to consider.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw it back to when we talked about the two ghost hunters having a conversation about the activity in front of the owner. This alleged psychic is now completely making up a story about someone getting killed, and she uses the word somebody. She doesn't give a name. She doesn't give a date. No information that we could validate or verify something like that happened. But now she's injecting this evilness.
She says the word evil.
Yeah, she says evil. Like the guy's evil, and he was going to do anything he can to like burn this place down and this and that. When there has been no indication at all previous to this that something bad was actually happening. I mean, we're talking about a column of light, some flashes, balls rolling down the stairs, a chandelier going out. No evil or dangerous situations whatsoever. But
the only person that has shown any fear to the property is the owner.
Yes.
And then the psychic medium comes in and turns it into a Conjuring movie style narrative. And when we are considering that they are trying to make this woman be able to sleep in her house, that is the last thing that should have been said to her. Just absolutely ridiculous. No basis on anything. Oh, but they were fire in the towns. Well, congratulations. She knew where she was going, I imagine. Right. But that horror story that she's just plucked from nothing after drawing the door wrong and writing the house number wrong. And
they're getting into some history now with the town of Florence, where this house was destroyed by fire, I think twice. And like all the town records were destroyed in one of them. So they don't have records going back to a certain date, which is a shame. You know, that's I hate
it. It's a massive shame for truth seekers, but for that psychic medium, no records is a massive win for her, because we can't substantiate a single claim she's made.
If a body's buried somewhere and trees grow up, well, they use the body as nourishment. And so the tree takes on that odor, and it's in their leaves and things like that. He's not giving us a definite location. He's just giving us where he's picking up odor, and it's coming through the trees. It's the odor that he's been trained for. I would investigate and see whether or not there was a cemetery here, and if they moved any bodies, and that may give you an answer to why the odor is here.
All right, so they brought out cadaver dogs, trained to detect the deceased bodies, and the two dogs. I think there were two dogs, right?
Yeah.
They were looking up into a clump of trees, like 3 or 4 trees. They were looking up in, and the technician handler, she said that it's possible that there were bodies there and that they started decomposing, and then the trees themselves used that for nutrients. And nourishment, and the odor gets up into the tree and the leaves and stuff and spreads out from that way. And there's no definite answer. So that also further alongs her idea that it's probably that's what happened. There may have been bodies there and they were used for nourishment. And then she also, at the end, she suggests like check to see if there was a cemetery here. And that's what they do. later on, and they do. I think we'll watch it and just make sure, but I think they do confirm that that area where the house was part of the old cemetery, which was burned away. So yeah, we just watched the section, and it's not clear.
No, at all.
No, right. We don't know. They don't have the records because they were all destroyed in one of the fires. But she lived in a section. So they have a map up on the wall. And again, I'll put a screenshot up here so you can see, like, they have a documented section, but then they have a blank section, which the historian says, we don't have records for this, so we don't know. So it's possible. Something else to throw in there is that the part that they don't have a record for anymore, if they were in the process of moving bodies, they might have been digging them up and then having a staging area where Alice's house is now, which would also contribute to it, because as morbid and as it might be, there might be pieces left over that were never cleared up.
Would you ever consider moving back into the house and living here? What would it take?
If I didn't live here alone, if somebody else lived with me, I probably, I could do it. But alone here, I haven't come to that point. I mean, I haven't been to that place yet.
I hope this process helps her. I really do. That's the goal. That's what we're trying to. I think we're 80% there, to be honest with you. I think we're about 80% there.
We've got her 85% of the way there. And all they've really done is add extra elements.
Right.
And scare the shit out of her with 2 separate horror stories.
Yeah, I mean,
and the poltergeist activity that was never there before the ghost hunters turned up.
Right. The balls falling down, that's poltergeist activity. The idea that somebody was killed outside and there's an evil spirit there now. Like, if anything, they've pushed her away.
Yeah, she's gone from 80%. She should be down to about 20 by now.
Yeah.
She's a very religious woman as well. Obviously, there's a section with her praying earlier on, and then there's this talk of evil, and it just I don't understand how he can sit there, look directly into the camera, and say, "I think we're 80% of the way there," when they've only added on to what they were initially there for in the first place. It didn't sit right with me, and then he's welling up, and I'm like, "Why? You've not set your goal is not in sight. She's not sleeping there. You've said 80%, not her."
Right. Yeah.
She's scared. Her words, what would it take for you to come back to this house, for somebody else to live here with me? She's lonely and she's scared of that house. And all they've done is contributed, from what I can see, to the fear.
Yeah.
Bodies in the garden, evil man, somebody was killed here. Oh, poltergeist. And
they're piling the bullshit on and just making it worse for her and exploiting that fear for a film. Honestly.
And I noticed some movement in the reflection of the chandelier. What I saw, with two different doors opening, and then one of them opened and closed. It's like something just came through. It's one thing to capture a door opening, but it's really a different level when you see a door open and then close itself. I haven't seen that before.
Okay, so they just showed a part where they were wrapping up and one of the baseballs fell down the stairs. No big deal, really. I mean, it's just one guy was in the house moving around, cleaning up equipment, so not a big deal. But they all rushed around. You got your Keystone Capers kind of like run around thing that you like.
Yeah, he was just missing the comedy sound effect. And there was a section of it that I laugh at every time. And it's like when Steve makes sure he gets into camera. There's that little lean out, and I'm like...
But then they focus on part of the footage. It's a week later. So what he captures in the reflection, because it's a pretty good reflection.
Yeah,
you see
that camera angle's magical.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I'm glad it was so high up. But
tilted.
Yeah,
It's
just
not
to
a
make
straight
sure.
shot. What really the biggest alarm bell for that is we don't see that shot elsewhere in the film, apart from when the psychic medium is in and they're filming that sofa that they're being interviewed on.
Right. So it almost looks like when you get the wide view, I guess, of where the camera is, you see the camera. It looks like it's not on a stand. It's just laid there, on top of like I guess the desk or whatever little desk that they're sitting at. So I wonder if they just put it down and it rolled. We see in the reflection, we see the side door of the house open up, and then there's a kitchen door right there.
Yeah.
And mind you, side door is here, and the kitchen door is open almost against that back door.
Yeah.
And they both seem to go like this. So the side door opens, the kitchen door closes, the chandelier itself, you see
turns.
Yeah, it rotates.
Because
and
the front
then,
door is open.
Yeah, a few seconds later, then you see the chandelier rotates again, and the doors close, and the side door slams shut. What we see here on this image, and again, that'll be up on screen here. The front door is open; it's wide open, so there's airflow going through. The side door was not closed, because if it was latched, it simply wouldn't open.
No.
But we don't hear any noise. We don't hear any of the latch noise from that like clicking open. So that was open already. And that's how I see it. It's just air pressure coming in and out of the house. And I don't know about you guys, like I see it here all the time, with doors that'll just from the air coming through the house. When you have a window open or a door like they have here, will make other doors in the house open and close.
Well, yeah, in my house, it makes doors slam.
Yeah.
If we have the front door and the back door open, or a window and the back door, other doors in the house will slam if they're not closed properly. And you know, if there's a bit of wind, it'll repeatedly bang. But they focus on the chandelier, obviously, for the image of the doors closing. And they like, look, the chandelier's turning, like alluding to that being paranormal, whilst we're looking at an open front door. And it's like, well, of course it's turning. There's air coming in.
Yeah.
And those doors are not closed. You've created a little funnel. It's not enough to move a ball.
Right.
But it's certainly enough to turn a chandelier and move some doors really slowly.
Right. And we see it earlier in the footage because they go out the front door. And when they open it, we see the chandelier rotate.
Yeah.
So like we know that's what's causing it. That is what's called a known variable. It's a known cause. And it's upsetting that they do not explore this, and just in reality, they just disregard it entirely. And this is something that's easily repeatable.
Yeah.
I mean, they can do it. Get a similar day where it's nice, a nice breeze outside, and open the front door, and then set up the side door where it's closed over but not latched, and see what happens.
That's far cheaper and far more a sensible option than flying the psychic medium from California back in there.
Right.
We've got a draft. Call a psychic medium in from California. That makes zero sense.
All right, we're all finished. We watched the entire film again, and I guess this is the part where we. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
This is the part where we sum up everything, our thoughts and this and that, and any suggestions or anything. So, what did you overall? What are your thoughts?
As you know, the reason we got onto this is because the first time I watched it, I was quite taken back by it, as in this was decent. I can't work out how the balls are coming down the stairs, and I had a conversation with a friend of mine that I was originally going to make a video about like this, and we were both just impressed, but we were both looking in the wrong area. We were looking for signs of blatant fakery, like masking and things, and when we couldn't spot that, it kind of tunnel visioned us, and I made we both made errors with it. I watched it a second time to remind myself after a conversation with you and saying, look, do you want in on this? And the second time I watched it, I was not heartbroken because I wasn't in love with the show initially, but or the documentary, but it was, this is really bad. This is not what I thought it was, because I viewed it with rose tinted glasses then as a paranormal enthusiast. I love the idea of the paranormal investigate. The longer I'm doing it, the more skeptical I'm becoming, but there's always that what if, and this was a what if, until this just hour and a half of unconvincing evidence.
For me, yeah, like the whole, when I see it, this is pretty much an extended ghost hunting show. To me, it's just, instead of 45 minutes, it's an hour and 20 minutes or something like that. I think they brought in amateurs, enthusiasts that really should not have been doing what they're doing. And again, like we mentioned it earlier, that the one guy just saw it on the news broadcast, and that's how he got into it. That's a horrible thing to say, is your credentials for doing this. And immediately coming in and ignoring the responsibility. I think not willfully ignoring, but not understanding the responsibility of going into someone's house, their home, and telling them your beliefs based on zero credible evidence, and the fear and anxiety and frustration that you
But
cause.
they add to.
Yes. We didn't see. I saw ghost hunting. I didn't see any investigating. I saw them contributing to the fear of the homeowner.
I mean, I got quite angry with that psychic medium. What the ghost hunters were doing was like, ghost hunters ghost hunting. She's invited them in. They go into, not all ghost hunters do it, but they go into play into that because they want the footage, they want the documentary, they want their evidence to show their friends, their peers. But that psychic media, it took such a dark turn so quickly. And I'm just like, this woman is already afraid. Why introduce that element? And then that element introduces this whole new thing where they're wasting Cadaver Dog's times because of a psychic medium and a neighbor that just wanted to be on camera. I don't want to be horrible to any of those two. They made everything far worse, far worse, because all the ghost hunters did was add balls and not investigate properly. The others added a new layer of fear that homeowner, and then for Gonzalez to claim 80% got of it. When he said that, we've got her 80% of the way, and I'm like, you've taken away, not given anything. There's not been one plausible explanation. That's wrong. He did debunk the door banging, the two handles, and then they were like, "Oh, but it's the back doors."
Right.
Everybody there is a believer. There is no skeptic. Yes. They're all paranormal believers. There's two girls there investigating at one point. I don't think they say anything other than REM pods going off.
Right.
We get no back, but they're all clearly believers in the paranormal, fully invested in the paranormal, trying to teach the house tricks, which kind of goes against getting Alice in and happy and feeling safe.
Right.
There's just nothing but.
I found that I guess from my perspective, like when I take on a case, whatever it is, a location that's famous for being haunted, or someone reaches out and says, "Hey, I want explanations. Can you help me out?" Then I will. But my goal is to investigate, because that's my job. That's my job title, to investigate and potentially solve that mystery or mysteries. And I didn't see that. I saw they were promoting that fear, promoting that belief. They were not trying to solve a mystery. They were trying to add to it. And that's what they did throughout. You're right. Like the goal should have been to investigate and explain find good explanations for every claim that the owner had, not add more claims to it and make it worse, not bring someone else in to make up another story, to add another story and another evil element to it. Your goal is to make her feel safe in her own home because now she has logical reasons for the weird stuff going on. And they didn't at all.
And the weirdest part is the biggest thing that scared her through the entire thing before they got there was the pillar of light. And that took such a backseat to everything else because they couldn't recreate it. But when they get a photographer flash or maybe some, I don't know, ball lightning or whatever it was, then they briefly touch on it. But then it's back to the ghosty woasties. And it's like, that's not what made her scared.
Right.
And you haven't alleviated that with what we discussed at the beginning of the video, very natural occurrences that in a high percentage of people.
Right.
And none of that happened, which it's wrong for that homeowner. Very wrong to the homeowner.
Yeah. I think ultimately this is an example of how not to perform any kind of investigation like this. Don't follow the practices that are shown in this film. Don't follow suit. Don't look at that and say, oh, well, you know, he's a TV star. I think he knows what he's doing, because there was no evidence of that throughout this film.
No, I mean, he was kind of less involved with some of the silly aspects of it, but then the way he was wording things to the experts was just all off. Like, even when he's speaking to the lady about the history of the town, and he's like, so there could be a graveyard, and I'm watching him lean in, and he's like, this area, there could be, right? And I'm like, maybe it's just the way he is. I don't know him. I've never met him. It's been years and years and years since I've watched him on TV, because I used to love the show he was on. And it was like almost lead in, like the way he leans in and the way, oh, this area, so there could be, right? And he's a very, very pleasant man. He's a very soft-spoken, pleasant individual. That's that's what kind of threw me off with him. Like, oh, you're leading.
Yeah, I think he did that a lot. And with the interview with the physicist, I mean, we only saw him ask questions of the one guy. The second physicist, he didn't actually ask questions. It was just all him, the physicist himself, answering questions that we didn't hear. So I don't know how it was worded, but it also sounded like with the first physicist that the way he was using the word energy, and it was leading and kind of disguising the question, and I didn't like that. I thought that was deceptive.
There was no mention to anybody of paranormal, not to the cadaver dogs, not to the physicist. Actually, I think the one physicist said something about ghosts.
Yeah, at the end, he's like, he said he doesn't believe in ghosts. He believes in science.
I believe in science.
As a scientist, I don't believe ghosts at all. I believe science.
Always be mindful of the editing that goes on in the background. They have all this footage. Like, for instance, like right now, this footage here, we have just about 3 hours of footage that I'm going to edit together, but I'm not going to edit us out of context. I'm not going to change the timeline. It's going to flow. And I'm just going to take out the parts that'll get copyright struck. But if I wanted to, I could rearrange that. I could take the box that you're in and swap it out with later footage so that you could answer a question to my liking if I wanted to do that. And
the press are good at doing things like that. Technically, you've said everything that they've said, but definitely not in that order.
Right. And we've seen that happen a lot. I would always suggest there's a film by Brian Dunning called Science Friction. Not science fiction, but science friction. And it's all about that. Science communicators being taken out of context in the media and showing examples and interviewing the people and getting the reasons or what happened to them. So I always recommend that. But as for this, I mean, that's pretty much all I really want to say, I think. I don't recommend it. And that's it. I mean, go out and read a science book. Subscribe to Skeptical Inquirer. They'll give you the skills. they'll help teach you the skills to actually investigate claims, not fear mongering, which is what I watched for the last hour and a half.
And I think it's important, like for people viewing, that I felt for this hook, line, and sinker, and then discussed it with Kenny, and then in my discussions with Kenny about everything I do as a debunker, as a paranormal investigator with a belief system that differs, that I learn from you because I want to be an honest investigator that doesn't fearmonger. I would never do what they did in that, ever.
I appreciate that. I guess lastly, I want to say that if this gets back to, if Steve or especially Alice, if the homeowner watches this and sees this and makes it to the end without shutting it off, getting mad at us, reach out. My email, I'll put it on the screen, my contact information. So it's here. It should be below us. Reach out and I will happily come down and help out. I will try to figure out what's going on, offer the explanations. Maybe we can check the wiring in the chandelier and keep going. Put the balls back further on the steps. I don't know, just a suggestion. But I'm offering my help and assistance for this. If you want to relax easier. I know there's a part 2, and she, according to that, she's back in the house.
She's back home, yeah.
But if anything comes up,
there was nothing in that should lead anybody to fear their own home. Nothing at all.
Right.
These guys are. This isn't meant to be a ghost hunting video for YouTube. This is a high production documentary, and that's not what we've watched. The second viewing was very uncomfortable for me, and now we have a third viewing.
All right. Well, thank you again for inviting me into this project, and it was fun. I enjoyed that. I haven't done one of my videos where I sit and go through clip by clip, and it was nice. Almost like a Mystery Science Theater, a 3000 kind of thing, which I like. So
normally I do this thing alone, so it was nice to have somebody to bounce ideas off, to discuss and to laugh as well, because we have laughed.
We did laugh.
A lot of fun.
There might be a bloopers reel afterwards. It depends on how long this is, because again, 3 hours and I have to cut it down to about an hour, which isn't too bad. But I'll put your contact information on the screen as well, underneath where you are over there, so people can get in touch with you and follow your channel and all that. So
thank you very much.
Other than that, thanks again, and everyone at home, remember, never stop learning. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.